When analyzing a character's journey, it is paramount to consider exactly what that journey is about. No, I don't mean on a basic, superficial plot level like, this journey is about defeating the forces of evil to restore the world to the balance it was at before the war started. Rather, I'm speaking of the thematic heart of a character's progression from the beginning of the journey to its conclusion. For Aang, it's about accepting the burdens of his duty to be the Avatar while not letting the responsibilities of that job define him and shape him into a person he just isn't. When he takes away the bending of Fire Lord Ozai instead of killing Ozai, he is rejecting what he perceives as the value systems of the other avatars. He's pledging to start anew. Zuko's journey is even more substantial. While he loathed his banishment and fought for 3 years to get back in the good graces of the man who banished him, his father, he later admits to his father that banishing him was the best thing Ozai ever did for him, because it forced Zuko to take a step back and question all the values that had been instilled in him since birth. It forced him to question his priorities. It forced him to question his entire ethos, his entire moral system. The Fire Nation does not act for the benefit of the world, he realizes. That was a lie pounded into him by an imperialist regime. Only when I watched The Southern Raiders did I realize that Katara had a journey of that extent. It may not be as overt and flashy as the journeys of Zuko and Aang, but it is just as substantial and important. She struggles with her darker, more extremist side. Aang does not understand the side of her, not really. He's too happy-go-lucky and Pollyanna-ish, but we, the viewers, should realize that it is linked to her idealism and her passion for fighting injustice. The Fire Nation killed her mother and destroyed her connection to her culture. Her entire journey, at least emotionally, is about trying to regain that connection, even as she acknowledges that it will never be like it was. In episode 316, The Southern Raiders, she finally triumphs over her dark side, refusing to kill the man who killed her mother. Aang rushes over to her in his typical happy-go-lucky attitude, and congratulates her for making the right decision to forgive him, but she says that she didn't forgive him, that she will never forgive him. It's a dark, raw, honest conclusion to one of the best episodes in the show, and it makes it all the more strange that Katara ends the series in a relationship with Aang. This strikes me in the same way as the small council meeting at the end of Game of Thrones Season 8. No, it's not that bad, but both scenes fall flat for me for the same basic reason. Put very broadly and abstractly, there is a significant gap between the emotion the scene actually wants to convey and the emotion it actually does convey. They're both supposed to be signifiers of a brighter future. The darkness is over and there's light in the distance. Dawn is coming. Green shoots are growing amidst the ashes. The world is being renewed. Instead, the overwhelming sensation created by these two scenes is that of dread. They're tense, uneasy scenes that are not actually nearly as much of a resolution as they present themselves as. This would be fine if the unease was intentional. I don't know how many of you have seen Mad Men, but I love the scene at the end of Season 4 where Don marries Megan, his secretary. We see it through his eyes, and it looks technicolor, it looks magical, it looks like a fresh start, but the show provides to us, the viewers, enough distance to know that this is not going to turn out alright, despite his delusions. Here, however, we're supposed to buy that Aang and Katara are the pinnacle of romance. Yes, there is the problem that she's a few years older than him, and when you're that age, it is a huge gap. But that's not the only problem, or even the main problem, with this pairing as it's presented in the show. No, the biggest problem by far is that you're taking this mature 14, 15-year-old who has consistently demonstrated that she is more anguished and bitter and conflicted than the divine maternal image others project onto her. And you're forcing her into a relationship with a goofy 12, 13-year-old who does not understand that there is more to Katara than this idealized image. And he does not know how to respond when Katara demonstrates that she's far more tinged with the pain and suffering of her childhood, of ideals broken, of dreams unfulfilled, than he can really imagine. For as much emphasis as Avatar: The Last Airbender puts on unity and comradeship, Aang's final battle against the Fire Lord comes when he is alone. Alone and refusing to listen to the opinions of those around him. True, Suki, Sokka, and Toph provide help in the final fight by helping to take out the Fire Nation fleet, and Zuko and Katara by defeating Azula, ensure that there will be stability after the fall of the Fire Lord, but neither group helps in Aang's actual final battle. Aang's firm conviction that he has to do this alone is completely justified by the text, and I don't really think that's what they were going for. So you have this adolescent boy, and as you know, adolescent boys tend to be volatile at the best of times, even when they're as sweet and kind as Aang. So you have this volatile kid, and then he gets rejected by the girl he loves in episode 317, the Ember Island Players. Then he refuses to listen to those around him and put the well-being of the world over his own ethical preferences. And then everything turns out alright. He saves the world his way, and the girl he loves accepts him. What lesson is he supposed to take from that? Even if you're not as myopic as a lot of adolescents are, I mean, you do it your way and then everything goes right. What lesson are you to take from that, except that you should keep doing things your way, that you shouldn't listen to others, that when they try to give you advice, try to nudge you in a different direction, you should just ignore them and keep boring on ahead without indulging in any self-reflection. None of this bodes well for his relationship with Katara long term. Katara has little concern for traditional social mores, as demonstrated by something as seemingly inconsequential as how willing she is to steal the clothes of Fire Nation kids in order to help Team Avatar hide out. This is not to say she doesn't have a strong moral code. She does. It's stronger than the codes of anyone else in the show, but it is very much her own code, not the internalization of a societal code. She's led by her ideals, not what those around her consider smart or reasonable. She stays on the ship during episode 106, and she stays in the town in episode 303 because she refuses to just stand by and watch the oppression of others without taking action, even if taking action is not practical. No, it's not, strictly speaking, rational, but it is understandable, particularly if you've suffered so much like Katara, and if you're someone like Katara who very much wears all your feelings on your sleeve and doesn't try to hide how you feel and what you want and what you believe would be good for the world. Zuko very much understands this darker, or at least less socially acceptable side of Katara. Aang really doesn't. Yes, Katara does object to Aang's behavior at certain points, but she does so with tenderness and empathy, especially when Aang loses Appa in the middle of Season 2. And she does this even when Aang is being so unknowingly callous that he's leaving them to die in the desert. Aang, conversely, cannot even imagine the idea of Katara, his Katara, doing something as unacceptable as taking revenge on the person who killed her mother, the person she cared most about in the world. I imagine this conflict playing out over and over again in their relationship. I've talked a lot about what sets Zuko and Katara apart from the rest of Team Avatar, but an underrated factor is how these two bear the weight of moral decision-making more heavily than the other members of the team. What do they believe? What kind of world do they want to create? How do they respond to the darkness in this world? Aang faces a critical moral dilemma at the end of Avatar, The Last Airbender, about whether he should kill the Fire Lord, and I definitely think it was a good writing decision to put this in, because otherwise the fight has no real thematic purpose other than it being the final fight between good and evil. But I kind of wish they had brought this up earlier. You'd think it would if it was that important to him, but it just doesn't. As they prepare for the day of Black Sun invasion, Aang never talks about whether he's willing to kill Ozai. Zuko, however, is haunted by moral conflict from the first time we see him in Avatar. It's not just that he wants to capture the Avatar in order to restore his honor. In fact, I'm not sure he does want to capture the Avatar. Want really isn't the right word for it. It's a compulsion. And though he claims that this is all he cares about, he does prove that this is not the case, even in episode 107, The Spirit World, where he has the choice of going after the Avatar or saving his uncle, and he chooses his uncle. Throughout Season 2, he travels throughout the Earth Kingdom, witnessing the depravity and chaos wreaked by the Fire Nation. He has to choose between abandoning his old stances, abandoning his old beliefs, and entering into a new and paradigm-altering conception of the world, just ridding himself of everything he used to believe. Or he has the option to still keep chasing his past glory. That he chooses his old ideals, that he chooses his father's approval, haunts him throughout Season 3, until he makes the decision to leave Ozai. Iroh understands the struggle. It was his struggle once, but that was in the past for him. It was a long time ago. For Zuko, the emotions are still hot and raw, and they don't go away once he takes on the burdens of being a world leader. What is he supposed to do when he's faced with a state in crisis? He has to restore order, but he doesn't want to become a tyrant like his father before him. Katara would prosper in a relationship with him, a relationship with someone who realizes there aren't always simple and easy choices. It will never be possible for her to completely move on. The darkness inside her is still there, and she will have to grapple with it in the future. But Zuko can help with that, and he will, for he is the only character in Team Avatar who really understands exactly how she is feeling. So thank you all for watching. If you liked what you saw today, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Donate to my Patreon if you can and you want to see more videos like this. Keep watching Avatar: The Last Airbender. It is a stirring, brilliant, bold, empathetic show that is not afraid to expand its focus. It's not just about Aang and his quest to save the world. It's about all these people's lives that have been uprooted and thrown into chaos by the Fire Nation. Demonstrates that real change is collaborative and collective. It's difficult to achieve, but powerful when it is. Anyway, tune in soon for my next analysis. It will be coming soon. I promise you that. Thank you all again. Adios, comrades.